And when it comes to plastic, my entire problem is the production of new plastic. And the fact that less than 10% of it is actually recycled, and that 10% is downcycling. So there's a degradation in value every time. To be honest, we don't need new plastic. If it could be continuously recycled, we don't need new plastic. I am a graphic designer from Bombay, and I live here in Athens, in Greece. And when I was in Bombay, I worked in this very large FMCG brand agency. So designing the packaging of FMCG products. And through that job, I mean, I didn't have any graphic design background. I learned everything on the job. And in that job, I learned about these consumer goods and about consumerism in general and overconsumption. And I also learned about plastic packaging. And I studied a lot about the material, plastic as a material, which is a very valuable and resourceful material. And it has changed the world in a lot of ways positively, like, in terms of in the medical industry or in the clean energy space. But it is its use because of consumerism. It is its casual use. The fact that it's not being treated as a valuable material, that was the problem. So after I quit my job, I helped start up 2 brands. One was in the space of organic and fair trade cotton clothing, and one was in the space of upcycling textile waste. But I've always wanted to work in the space of plastic. And then when I moved here in Athens, I did find that the problem was a lot more serious here in the West than it is in India, because consumerism is a lot more. And I think growing up in India, we didn't have the fast food restaurants or the supermarkets. We grew up with a lot less plastic. So I think being in a position to have lived through the emergence of consumerism and the use of plastic kind of made me I was in the position to maybe do something about it. Whereas over here, I think people have either forgotten or don't know how to live with less or, without plastic. So that just kind of motivated me to do something. And what started off as me just handcrafting products at home and gifting to friends turned into, the startup that it is today, where the main aim of Thela is to address the global plastic waste problem, but to address it locally and creatively. So we find innovative solutions to this plastic waste problem through products and through education.
I just want to go back to your journey a little bit, where you said that you identified the problem as plastic, and you started by gifting it to friends, evolved to creating the brand Thela. Like, what was the journey like that?
At some point I realized that if I want this to be a business, it's not viable for me to be doing it on my own. And my space, while it lies in handcrafting, through the previous startups, I have worked with a lot of communities, underprivileged communities, slum dwellers, artisans, and trained them to work with textile waste, for example. So, but living here in Greece, I wasn't living in India to be able to constantly work with them, train them, and build my own communities. So what I did instead is I started working with already established craft centers and fair trade tailoring units. So that's how the model started.
Just want to understand, like, why business? Like, because many of this certainly, good for environment work as in initiatives. Why did you think that Thela has to be a business in order to grow up?
Well, for personal reasons. If it's a business, then it is something I could do professionally and sustain it. And I mean, do something I love professionally. Um, and I am a very strong believer of making any sustainable venture a for-profit business. Uh, in order to be able to support the communities, in order to uh, be able to sustain oneself. Like I don't agree with I mean, of course I still do graphic design on the side to make money, but uh, I think it is like creating a bigger impact. Yeah.
When did you start involving more people into it?
When did I start involving more people? I mean, still there is like, it's a very small team, which is mainly my family. And I partner with ethical and like-minded organizations who are
Okay.
already well established. So I just tap into that. But it's been an established like business since around 2019.
And so if you could tell us like little bit details about what exactly kind of like products are made, and if shed some light on like the process of how plastic waste goes into like the products in Thela. So
Okay. So basically what we do, we work with these artisan communities at the moment in Kutch
okay.
to repurpose their local waste into premium fashion and home accessories that retail
Okay.
globally. So the process is basically to collect this waste,
Mhm.
and then it is washed and dried, and it is cut by hand into yarn. So there's a specific technique to cut this waste into yarn that can be applied on any used material, whether it's textile or plastic. Um,
Okay.
and then this yarn is handcrafted with. So in Kutch, there is already an established unit that does weaving with this plastic waste, handloom weaving. So it's an organization called Khamir, and they have started this plastic weaving initiative about 10 years ago, where they also educate uh, their communities about this plastic waste problem. And they are also able to employ these these traditional artisans or home-based workers. They even work with prison inmates and train them to weave with plastic. So in a sense, they provide employment to several communities. And once we have this fabric, it gets tailored at a fair trade self-help center in Mumbai. So whereas these craft units and tailoring units have a very, very strong social impact, where I come in and get things customized is the environmental impact, because I want everything to be as circular as possible, circular and zero waste. So we get our fabrics custom made to the sizes that we want approximately, to avoid any cutting during the tailoring, because when we cut, that is microplastic. And also any waste that is generated during the cutting of the plastic bags, we donate to recycling initiatives. Then we are also working with these craft units to wash the plastic with chemical free detergents, like maybe making their own bioenzyme. So that is the next step.
Okay.
And then the other aspect is that these plastic fabrics are woven. So any weave has a warp and a weft, which is a vertical component that is set on the loom, and then it is woven with the discarded plastic. That's the horizontal component. So with plastic weaving, conventionally what is used is nylon, which is new plastic. So we don't use any new plastic in our products. So with Khamir, we are working with organic Kala cotton, because that grows locally over there. And then with our tailoring unit, we make sure that they don't do any cutting. And if anything is cut, it's kept for us, to be donated. And all our linings are organic and azo-free dyed or naturally dyed, and any waste produced is also collected, and we're still figuring out what to do with it. Like we want to donate it to organizations who make pillows or dog beds or something. So we're trying to think of every part of the production, the design. Like even our products are designed in such a way that they are zero waste. So very simple basic designs. And lastly, the self-help center actually doesn't exist as a fair trade organization anymore. They shut 2 years ago because of COVID, but we still work and continue to support their tailoring community.
Oh, right. I just want to dive deep into the aspect where the waste is collected, washed, and then prepared as a yarn. Like, how big of a challenge is that? Like, and where do you source this waste from?
So, I mean, when I started here in Greece, it was just from, the garbage bins, the streets, etc. Like in Greece, we have these local farmers markets. They're called laikis. So after the market, I used to just collect all the bags, the leftover plastic bags that were discarded. For example, there was a point when I started having collection drives where people could donate their waste in certain designated locations. But I realized that was subconsciously a reason for someone to use more plastic. They're like, okay, anyway, Thela is going to collect it, so it's okay. So I stopped that, and it's strictly the waste is already waste that is waste that has already been discarded. So off the street, waste collection centers, garbage bins, etc. So it's the same in Kutch. They have their local bhangarwadas where all this waste is, and they have employed people to actually go there and segregate the waste that is useful. So in Kutch, it consists of food packaging wrappers, like the MLPs, is it?
Yeah,
MLPs.
yeah, multi-layered plastics.
Yeah, it is, plastic bags and larger plastic sheets that are used for packaging and are used in agriculture. Like they use a lot of plastic. Farmers use a lot of plastic as reflectors or to, put on the bed to grow watermelon, etc.
Yeah.
So these larger sheets yield a lot more yarn that's continuous. So they use that a lot as well.
Are there any challenges in kind of sourcing them, or like I assume like the waste segregation part where you might have to separate it from like the other types of the waste. So how does that thing happen?
Yeah, but these are bhangarwadas or waste collection points where plastic is already segregated from other waste. Then it's just a matter of actually going there and figuring out what is the plastic and that we can actually use to cut into yarn and weave.
So it needs to be in a good sort of like shape till it can be used.
Yeah, it needs to be relatively untorn. Like it can't be so battered that we can't cut it to make yarn. So like, for example, when I go for ocean cleanups, a lot of that plastic waste is too battered to be able to use the soft plastic. And at the moment, that's all we use. We don't use any of the hard plastic. So yeah, it is pretty limited considering we work only with waste that's already been discarded.
Right. You also mentioned about the point of including communities into manufacturing.
Well, working with existing communities enables Thela to expand a lot more easily because these people already have the infrastructure. They have the artisans, they have the locals. Like, for example, I'm going to start working with an organization here that works with the refugees, and they're already training them to weave. So then where I come in is, I can focus on the environmental impact. So where I come in over here at least is to train them to work with plastic. So to wash, to clean and cut the plastic and learn how to weave with plastic. So in that sense, working with pre-existing units, I'm not taking care of the social aspect of it because that's already taken care of. And my focus is the plastic and the environmental aspect and making sure everything is circular, because they may not really adhere to those standards. And that also gives me the time space and the mind space to then work on the education activities, because honestly, that's why I started Thela. I started Thela with what I know best, that is, handcrafting. And that's my background.
Yeah.
So just bringing all that together. But the long-term focus is to talk to people about plastic as a material and how they can live with less.
All right. So one more question. This might be a little critical. So let's say in order for Thela to grow somewhere where probably there is no community, okay, would you be partnering with manufacturing organizations or white label companies to kind of manufacture the product?
I don't mind doing white labeling because that will be good. That will be good for the business in terms of wholesale orders.
Yeah.
But I would still be very picky about, what their communication is. If it's greenwashing, then I'm completely out. But I don't mind. I don't mind white labeling. It's just making a bigger impact and raising awareness. That's fine.
Makes
So
sense.
right now the process is entirely handcrafted, right? Or is there any like machinery kind of a thing
No,
involved?
there are sewing machines,
Okay, yeah,
which
that
is not 100% mechanical, but it does, like for example, it does consume energy and it does have a carbon footprint, very minimal. But yeah, the entire process is handcrafted. And right now that is the idea. The main thing of Thela is to work with plastic and to support these communities with handcrafting. Yeah, so it's in the space of upcycling and then, not recycling.
I think these communities are actually indeed vanishing a lot faster.
Yeah, a lot of these
Especially
traditional crafts are vanishing, and one of them is weaving. And even crochet, that's how I started. I started with crocheting because that's what I knew. But when I go to all these communities in Dharavi or in anywhere in India, the households still have the women who know how to crochet, who'll crochet, the cover for their TV at home.
All right.
So, the second startup I worked with when I was in Bombay was working with these slum dwellers and making them crochet with textile waste instead and paying them for it. Why can't it be an income for them and they could sit at home, take care of their children and work for us? So, that was the idea, to revive these crafts.
When we talk about Thela, okay, currently you are serving upcycled products into like one niche, okay, like carry bags. If do you see in future that Thela would have different products, like a range of products?
Yeah, we are expanding. We did start with homeware. I'm planning to get back to it too, but I think being in the space of fashion enables us to talk about consumerism and fast fashion as well. But we are planning to expand our products. Like we are doing research on making a zero waste jacket. So that is in the process. We are limited in the sense, I wouldn't call it a limitation, but we want all our designs to be zero waste. So as long as that is adhered to, we are open to expanding our range into homeware, travel accessories, clothing.
are there other companies who are already into that space with a similar manufacturing?
Yeah. There are many companies in India and globally also who do work with handcrafting with plastic waste. So there are two organizations in Pune, Recharkha and Ecokari, and I think there's one in Hyderabad also. I don't recall what they're called, but they work with crocheting with slum dwellers. And there are several organizations here also. There's one in the US who does weaving with plastic. And there are quite a few organizations in Egypt, actually, who work with handcrafting, crocheting and weaving. Yeah, so it exists.
That's where multiplayer collaboration would actually be helpful in solving the actual problem.
Yeah. And also working in this business has also enabled me to work and collaborate with such organizations and learn from them. So that's been really nice, both at a personal and professional level. Here we're also a part of this global open source community called Precious Plastic. So we get to know a lot of plastic recyclers and upcyclers through them. We get a lot of support from them.
I think Precious Plastic has grown to be such a big initiative, and
Yeah,
even like I think last month only I saw some account on Instagram which was from here Gandhinagar, Gujarat only, and they were like kind of a subsidiary company under Precious Plastic kind of thing. So
what are they called? Are they Athena?
No. I think Reco solution we discussed.
Reco Solution. Yes.
Reco Solution and one more. So
That is
Reco
okay.
Solution Pranav is like a bigger entity, but there was one more initiative where they were using like precious. I remember in school we used to read about like articles of precious plastic in I think South Africa or somewhere that's Africa somewhere some region they started off from, and now there are like literally initiatives happening in the neighborhood.
Unfortunately, I'm not so young to have the privilege of learning all this in school, but yeah, but there are a lot of these organizations who are doing the same things, but they are not yet or don't know about precious plastic. So that's another thing I'm trying to do. Like whenever I come across anyone doing plastic recycling in India, I try and connect them with precious plastic because it's a good support system.
Since you are operating in two different continents, okay, like in Greece and in India, there is a huge set of consumers at both the locations, like, and Thela caters to both. What's the difference you see in consumers in India and consumers in Europe?
Actually, in both places, it's very varied within the location. Like India is so diverse. And so is Europe in a way. Like, for example, you're in Greece, there's not much of a market because it's not yet as progressive where people think about buying a product made out of waste. It's still, unfortunately, consumed with, fast fashion and over consumerism. But things are changing slowly, and there is a small community of us who stick together so that we don't feel so isolated. So that's the situation here in Greece, but in other parts of Europe, the audience is a lot more developed. And whereas when I'm in Bombay, which is a very big cosmopolitan city, the awareness is a lot more. So it just depends on which city or which, state I am in. But I think overall the awareness is growing. Yeah, I mean, the price point is a lot more affordable here, which is why initially what I started with was manufacturing the products in India and then bringing them here and retailing here. I started retailing in India only recently. And although the prices are higher because of the shipping costs, it is still, like in a medium range product. Like I know a lot of other sustainable brands who would be like 5 times more expensive than me. So yes, in that sense, it is a lot. But I think the awareness in India is, at least in the major cities, is growing quite fast, where when we talk about fast fashion, the entire idea is, say, if it comes to a dress, to buy one dress that's expensive instead of 5 dresses that wouldn't last that long. So I think that awareness and that idea is growing a lot. And at Thela, we always encourage that. We talk about valuing the product and taking care of the product and, not washing it so often and also returning it to us, at the end of its life.
All right.
So does that
And
actually happen? Like when the product is, let's say a Thela product is damaged, or like the expiry sort of like it is used after 2 3 years, does it come back, or like how do you
not
ensure that cycle?
not yet, and we haven't communicated that as much yet. We're still trying to figure out how to like what offering to give and the whole logistics of it. But yeah, in the next few months we will be talking about that a lot more, because that essentially is, closing the loop,
Yeah.
which is what we want to do.
And apart from like the sustainability aspect of it, or the upcycling aspect of it, are there any added like benefits when?
No, plastic itself is a very, very durable material. So when we weave it, essentially we are knotting it. So whether it's woven or crocheted, it is very sturdy. But because it is waste plastic and it's a little bit unpredictable, um, like personally, what we do is we line our products with a canvas that also enhances its sturdiness. And what's happening right now is, because our warp is organic cotton, it's not as sturdy as the nylon. So in the future, we're planning to work with the recycled PET plastic instead of nylon. We've actually been trying very hard to do that with Khamir, but it's not working out on their looms because their looms are very old. Like in Khamir, these are traditional family-run skills where, they had their looms before they had their house, literally. So they're very, very old. And we are not able to work with this PET, but there are other organizations like the ones I mentioned in Pune that work with recycled PET, and the fabric is a lot more sturdy and is also infinitely recyclable because there's no mix of materials. So we are thinking of working with them. Like we went through this big dilemma that, okay, is organic cotton better or is new plastic better in terms of its recyclability? But we don't want to use new plastic at all. Like even our zips are made of recycled PET. So I think in the future we will, like if it doesn't work out in Kutch, then we, for our next production, we'll be working with the organizations in Pune. So anyway, that material will be a lot more durable. But even now, they are very durable. Kala cotton that we work with for the warp is a lot more durable than conventional cotton in terms of its strength. And it's also a sturdier crop. It grows in the desert. It doesn't require that much water. And it's organic by default. So it's a lot more sustainable than regular cotton and sturdy.
I just want to take your viewpoint on the common topic that we keep on discussing, like why is sustainability costly? Is it because of economies of scale, or the brands are actually trying to bring sustainability as a concept from top to bottom, like targeting the upper class of consumer who are like more adaptive to the price, and then influencing the lower segments by branding this upper class? Is that the reason, or what's the reason why sustainability is costly?
Well, when it comes to fashion and, like say a piece of garment that's truly, truly sustainable, I don't think it's costly. I think that is the true cost. And if you're paying anything less, then someone somewhere is paying the price. So, and overall with sustainability, like at an individual level, if one wants to be sustainable, then in the long run it is cost saving, because sustainability is not just about buying expensive sustainable products. It's about using and reusing your products, making your clothes last longer, making everything lasts longer, not using a reusable, I mean, not using a disposable item. Like every time, like say a plastic fork, if I just keep a metal fork with me, not at a personal level, but overall it costs much less than using and throwing away. So it's also the cost of convenience and how inconvenient it is for the planet. And there are certain products which may cost more, but it's an investment and it's cost saving in the long run. So whether that is, the menstrual cup, which I use, it may cost say 800 rupees, but within a year, I'm actually, I made up for it and I'm saving on, continuously having to buy single-use sanitary napkins. So it's a balance that one needs to create. And if one has that entire individual ecosystem, then it like I've landed up saving money a lot. Like for example, within India, I don't fly at all. I just take the train because that's a lot more sustainable. It's a cost saving also. So we just need to think of ways to make it happen for both us and for the environment.
All right. And probably now is the right time to circle back to earlier discussion that we had about the education aspect. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So one aspect is to obviously create products and create utilities for people to use, right?
Yes.
But another aspect is to make them believe in it, make them see the benefits, and
Yeah.
give them a status quo to own it as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so in that case, like, how are you working, like, in terms of awareness and in terms of getting that education right on the consumers? And
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of education, we conduct workshops. We develop solutions for individuals and organizations, and we provide training to basically create awareness in reducing plastic pollution. So by conducting workshops, we conduct workshops in schools for children, where we talk to them about sustainability, about upcycling, and they're essentially craft workshops. So we will upcycle a product with the plastic waste that is locally collected from their homes, and then that brings about an awareness. But more than making the product, which is the fun and exciting element, we also talk to them about their actions, positive or negative, on the environment. So like we ask them, what is the first thing you did when you woke up? They'll be like, we brushed their teeth. What was your toothbrush made of? How did you come to school? Did you come by car? Did you walk? Did you take the bus? So just, we want to encourage them to just be aware of their daily actions and what impact that has. And then the change comes, gradually. And then we want to develop solutions for people and families and organizations to use less plastic. So it could be like you're in Athens, we have the Vegan Life Festival, which does, like, it's very, very large scale and it does consume a lot of plastic. So we want to work with them and try and reduce their plastic consumption. Or if it is if it's a family, we want to provide them solutions and resources on alternative products to, for their cleaning products, for everything in their home, so that they can have a zero waste home as far as possible. So, these are the spaces we are trying to get into with education. Yeah, and it may seem that in India, the awareness may not be as much as it is in the West, but also consumerism hit India very late, only post 80s. So it's so easy to go back. And if we look at the consumerism in India now, it may seem like a lot because there may not necessarily be a proper waste disposable system. But like if you go to, like, I visit London often because my family lives there, and the amount they consume just in terms of plastic, is so much. It's just tucked away in their very neat waste disposable system. And it just goes to third world countries to be illegally recycled. So I think in India, the awareness is a lot more because we remember. Like we grew up, I grew up without toilet paper. We didn't have toilet paper growing up, for example. And we never used kitchen rolls. Like when I came here, I'm like, what is this kitchen roll? Just get a pocha, no? Like what like, so we are so used to it. It's easier to, we are so used to it. It's easier to go back.
True. I remember still my mom carries clothes bag when she goes for local shopping. Like she never, like, we don't need to tell her like that, aware her about environment and sustainability.
Sometimes they do it not because it's environmentally sustainable. They just do it.
Yeah,
it's their habit. They have no idea that it's just one other action that is positive, just by the way,
Yeah, and exactly, I think that's where the education and training to the young kids and students.
Exactly, that was the idea. The idea was for them to go home and then talk about these actions and then influence the parents, and that does happen. I've seen that happening here in Europe.
And it's also the kids are like more receptive, so probably in the
Very.
future they wouldn't be thinking as an impact, they just would think it as a habit like our moms do.
So regarding the Thela initiative, right? Like how big is the team? Like is it everyone like operating in a decentralized way, or do you have a core team and then other distributions?
So literally it is I and my husband, where I manage the production, and my husband works on the business aspects of it, and my mother handles the shipping and logistics in India. So we have a spare room in my house, and all the products are there in cardboard boxes. And I have my cardboard boxes here in front of me, and I manage the shipping and logistics here. So it's still very small, and the company is registered in India, and in the following month we're going to register it here in Greece as well. So then we'll have a warehouse space, and the idea is to even open a shop maybe beginning of next year, to be able to display and store the products.
From a current stage to, let's say, next 5 years or so, how would you like to scale Thela as like a brand, as a business?
I mean, the idea for Thela is for it to be decentralized. So we want to create these clusters in different countries, where like in India, the pre-existing communities and organizations we work with, they work with their local plastic waste, and they also retail locally. So in the future, I would want to also create a unit here, which we've slowly started, that could cater to Europe. So that's the 5-year plan, and it could expand. This model could replicate. If we have leaders in other countries, I'm happy to, like we said, I would want it to be open source. So we could have these clusters in other countries as well, managed by other people like me.
I think this is a stark contrast between the sustainability businesses and the otherwise the industries, because the more we have talked with all the change makers till now, majority of them have this idea and of future like decentralized scaling of the entire mission. So it's very beautiful to see, like, which is very counterintuitive, where people want control and more control over things. And yet I think you can share more light, but I think it's more, even if with the decentralized model, everyone owns and like kind of is better for them also.
Of course. And it also, gets more people involved, which is what we want. Actually, currently, bless you.
Sorry.
I know, it's fine. I think the next step for Thela would be to have someone in India who could manage it the way I do. So, it doesn't depend on me being there once a year to carry out the production.
how does the reviewing process happen? Are there people who you trust, like ensures the production quality, all those things?
So far, I have never worked remotely because the production
Okay,
is very
okay.
small and retail is very challenging.
Mhm.
So it's only when I'm there that it happens. But I have spoken to a few people, like the people that I used to work with at the self-help center, who were managing the quality check and production, etc. So we are in talks with people, but ideally it would be nice to get someone who could be the Diti in India, and
Yeah,
could
yeah.
just handle it there. I could let go of that aspect of it and focus on Greece since I live here.
Right.
Yeah.
Are
So
you having a tough time finding such a person, or because why am I?
no,
Sorry.
no, go
Okay.
on. No, why are you
So
asking?
because a lot of whenever we talk to such business owners, I think this is a common point that they want to access more areas, like the launch the initiative to more areas. But
Yeah.
it happens very slowly compared to like other franchisee models. So I was just wondering, like whether it is hard to kind of people or find people to kind of own this type of businesses.
Mhm. No, it's not been in our focus right now because we need to focus on retail more at the moment. Post-COVID, things have been challenging. Being in the space of fashion itself with such a saturated market is also very challenging. So we need to figure out certain unconventional marketing activities, grow our sales, work on wholesale orders, B2B orders, to have those funds and to be able to have a continuous production. And then we would also have the funds and also the need to have someone positioned permanently in India working on this.
Okay.
So right now, at least this year, our focus is on scaling.
Have you thought about funding, like getting an external help on the fund to scale and to, because marketing, I know it fashion requires tons of budget.
Mm.
So have you thought about?
Yeah, I mean, with the kind of budgets we have, there is no point in, at least that's what we've been told, there's no point in doing social media marketing or Google marketing, advertising at all. We have received funds. We were a part of an accelerator program here in Europe. And through that accelerator program, through the various stages that we progressed through, we got some funding, which helped us with our production. And we need to, but it's still very small. And we are open to, we are open to getting funding specifically for marketing purposes.
And what's the major challenge? I think we discussed on our last call as well. Like, is it cracking the recipe of creating a product or getting it to the household and to the hand in the hands of consumers?
Definitely in the hands of consumers for me. I mean, maybe it's because my background lies in design and working with
Yeah.
communities, training them, and that's what I really, really enjoy. So it will be great to have someone on board who handles the sales, marketing, all of that. So I think that is a challenge for me because it's not my expertise and also because it's a challenging market to try and penetrate into.
So
Yeah.
do you think that greenwashing is actually a barrier for good sustainable brands to sustain in the market?
Yes, it's definitely a barrier, but it need not be a barrier for the consumers. As a consumer, we just need to do our research, get in touch with the brand on social media. Like, I mean, as a part of Thela, we try to communicate our entire story as much as possible. But if I personally need to purchase something, I'll get in touch with the brand and find out what, because I'm very particular
Right.
about various and different aspects about the environmental sustainability as well. So I know a few brands, like the organic clothing brand I used to work with. They won't even use plastic in their buttons. Their packaging is plastic free, and of course not that isn't how they were when they started, but it's like a evolutionary, it's a growth, it's a learning. Like, for example, even with Thela, our products have transformed and improved a lot in terms of the environmental sustainability. So I think as consumers, we just need to do our research and reach out to these brands and find out what exactly their core values are and what their product is before making a purchase. That's what mindful purchasing is about.
Oh. And from the brand's perspective,
Mhm.
like of course transparency has to be maintained. Like they have to tell users that this is what we're doing, but how
Yeah.
far can a brand go to engage consumers into their supply chain or creating that sort of transparency that people trust that these are sustainable products?
How far can they go? I mean, I think it's their responsibility to do it. So it's not about how far they can go. And I think it is also in their interest to do it. So I do see a lot of brands in the sustainability space that do it and do it really well. And they may not be, like personally, they may not have the same sustainability standards as me, and I may not buy a product from them because of it, but they're not greenwashing.
Right.
So there lies the difference. If anyone is greenwashing, they are the bigger, like say someone like an H&M or a Zara, where it would be difficult in the first place to even get in touch with them. I know sustainable brands that may be as big as an H&M or a Zara, but I can get in touch with them at the click of a button to ask them something. And they are constantly, every time I make a purchase, they're asking me for feedback. They take my feedback. So I know it's not greenwashing. So it a lot of it is in the hands of the brand and the consumer both to kind of figure out if it is greenwashing or not. And I really appreciate and respect a brand when they say that they do use plastic for such and such purpose and give us suggestions on how to improve. And I appreciate that honesty and transparency from a brand. So I may buy a shampoo that is in plastic from that brand instead of a Pantene, for example, because I know the story, I know where it's coming from, I know they're trying. So then it's not greenwashing. There are also a lot of platforms like Good on You that release articles every week about brands that greenwash. They release articles about how to recognize greenwashing. So I think as a consumer, one needs to do their research.
And interesting aspect to this is consumers, companies, and what role does government have to play?
It is challenging. I think it's not really my expertise. I don't know much, but I do know that when a government implements something, it's not going to work if they don't provide a solution.
Right.
So I know this doesn't answer your question, but like even the plastic ban in India, there were no solutions.
Yeah, there are no alternatives. What to do that?
Yeah, for these I mean, not for the companies, but say for the chai wala, give him an alternative to that plastic cup. That is, give him an incentive to go back to the the cutting chai glass cup, for example. And maybe the government needs to work with these companies and give them incentives as well to switch their practices. Otherwise, I don't think it would work. You can't just say ban plastic, you aren't allowed anymore, and that's it. And these things need to be top down for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you correctly actually pointed on the point that government needs to partner with organizations who are actually working on the ground level.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was in Mumbai, they got this law that the buildings have to manage their wet waste at the source, like the food waste as the source and power. And like consumers didn't know like how to manage it, how to segregate it.
No, they can't put it on us. They definitely can't put that. That I totally agree with. I mean, there's one app, I don't remember what it's called, but it's a very popular app where an individual can calculate their carbon footprint and then feel shit guilty about it. But that app was made by by BP. To make the consumers feel guilty. So I mean, this is greenwashing. I mean, not greenwashing, but this is proper manipulating, putting it on us. It's not on us. Like even me, who lives so sustainably, has to try really hard. And I'm still not completely plastic free. I can't be. It's impossible. They made it so difficult for us. And I don't feel guilty. Like I can't get that anxiety. I just have to try my best. And we need to demand it from these organizations for it to be top down. And when it comes to plastic, my entire problem is the production of new plastic and the downcycling of used plastic, and the fact that less than 10% of it is actually recycled, and that 10% is downcycling. So there's a degradation in value every time. To be honest, we don't need new plastic. If it could be continuously recycled, we don't need new plastic, because we need plastic as a material, not in the form of single-use plastic, but we do need plastic as a material. I just don't agree with making new plastic. I mean, plastic, I think, is a great invention.
Yeah, great invention.
It's a great invention, and it also it was also used as a replacement to animal products.
A lot of it.
So it prevented a lot of species from going extinct, and now this very plastic is making them extinct. So, but I think that's a process. I mean, I think that is something understandably they could not have anticipated then. Like today we have some algae that is eating plastic waste. Wow. But we don't know 20 years from now what impact that's going to have. So maybe the intention was good, but along the way things just exploded.
Even lot of new companies are coming in, as in providing more organic or the degradable materials, yet giving the same durability of plastic. So quite hopeful about that also.
There's also the single-use aspect, where even if the material is degradable, there is a lot of energy consumption and just to manufacture something to use for 5 minutes, whether it's plastic or paper or
So when it comes to Thela and the vision that you have in the coming years, like what sort of support and what sort of help that you need from three important pillars of our society, like the consumers, the organizations, companies working in sustainability, or even the conventional business, and the government?
I mean, I think consumers can support by purchasing and spreading awareness about the brand. It could be something simple like talking about their purchase, following on Instagram, spreading the word, something as simple as that. And also not just with consumers, but with all three people you mentioned, it's about supporting each other. So, creating that awareness together and helping each other. Like, I honestly think I'm helping consumers make a sustainable purchase that has a positive impact. They blindly, I feel if they buy a sustainable product and create a positive impact, I mean, I'm enabling that. So I'm helping the consumer and the consumer can help me. I think it's very symbiotic in all three cases. I think the government needs to work on working towards eliminating single-use plastics completely and stopping the production of new plastic completely. The government can support me by helping me go out of business, literally.
Yeah, that's a very fine and bold way to put it.
No, I would love to work with something else, other ethical materials, plant-based materials. I don't want to work with plastic. I don't want to have to work with plastic.
What is the message that you would like to give to our readers?
What I would like to encourage the readers is to just be aware, of every single action. And it is a very, very interesting and a very, very positive and a very, very creative process. I think it helps oneself at a personal level also in terms of being mindful. And it's very, very liberating to be aware of your actions and what it's doing to yourself, to the environment. So I think awareness is key. And it's not about eliminating plastic, or like I use plastic, but I'm aware of its impact. I'm aware of its solutions. I'm aware of its alternatives. And then I draw my own line. So whether it's making a purchase, going to work, everything. How does it impact you? How does it impact people around you? How does it impact the environment? Like making conscious purchases, the time needs to go in researching on that one dress you want to buy, and not just mindlessly going to anywhere and just buying 5. So it's empowering to know where that dress is coming from and what has gone behind it. It increases your appreciation, your value for that product. It helps someone at a mental level, at a personal mental level as well. It's helped me. It's helped me through my anxiety. It's helped me through so much. I feel like I have so much purpose, just knowing what my actions are, And I'm not just talking about buying a dress. It could be the food you buy. Where is it coming from? There are children in the West who don't even know that a chicken is an animal that runs on the grass. They don't know that onions grow underground. There's such a disconnect. If you ask a child to draw a chicken, he's going to draw food, not the animal. So there is a big disconnect, and I think that needs to come back. Yeah, like just understanding the problem, not being too hard on oneself, and enjoying the process. Then it gets very liberating. I'd also like to send a message to readers to please reach out to me if they need help at an individual level. Any tips, any inputs, it will be a learning process for me as well. So please reach out to me if any of you want to start your journey with sustainability.